Over the past 24 to 48 hours, the internet has been on fire over rumors involving Lil Durk and FF Vanny, with claims that Vanny might be cooperating against Durk. Now things just got even messier. Audio has surfaced, and it's tied directly to the alleged text messages that sparked this firestorm. In the recording, a man claiming to be Vanny's father speaks out. He names names: Vanny, King Von, Lil Durk, 100k track, and shares a lot more. Now, I can't confirm whether this man is truly Vanny's father, but what I can do is break down the audio and analyze what was said. And trust me, what he said changes everything. If this man is who he says he is, then two major things just happened. First, he clears Vanny's name. He insists that Otavani is not a snitch, that he's not cooperating with the police, and those infamous messages, they weren't any kind of setup or signal that he planned to flip. Second, he may have just handed Lil Durk a legal lifeline. According to this man, Durk is going to beat this case, walk away scot-free. Now I know some of y'all are asking, how does this audio prove that? Let's get into it. I'm going to play sections of the audio and break it down for you piece by piece, just like I always do. Let's take a closer listen to what was really said.
Playing out and cooperating, they saying it's two different things. They saying that
it is, but playing out, you got to tell what everybody did. You can't just tell your role in the case. I done been to the feds before. You got to tell everybody's role in. Like I told him in a text message, everybody gonna have to plead, because guess what? Now you gonna have to testify against Brown ass. He did this, because you saying what your role. I went and bought the guns. I went and gave ski mask to this person. I gave it. You got to tell your role in it. But if everybody else don't cooperate, then now you got to testify against them. That's why I told him in a text message, everybody gonna have to plea out. You understand what I'm saying?
right.
That's what got to happen. Everybody got to plea. If he's the only one that plea out, then that means he got to testify against everybody else and say what their role was in the crime. You understand what I'm saying? Because I ain't pleading out, I'm going to trial. But he decided to take a plea. He can't say, well, I'm not telling on Brown eyes, or I'm not telling on this person, or I'm not telling. Okay, now we're taking your plea back. Now you go to trial with everybody else.
Right. That's what I was saying. That's what I got out of it, bro. Like the people with the feds ain't finna tell you, all right, you can plea out, and you ain't finna tell them shit, and they gonna break you a deal of the century.
It don't go like that. You have to tell everyone role in the thing, and like I said, he's gonna be Little Woody. You understand what I'm saying? He's gonna be Woody on the stand.
What you just heard was the man, claiming to be Vonnie's father, explaining a key legal reality. That if Vonnie chooses to take a plea deal, part of that process will require him to detail everyone's role in the alleged crime. Now, I've talked about this before, and I agree, that's exactly how the legal system works. When someone enters a plea, the court has to establish a factual basis, meaning they must prove that the person not only committed the crime, but understands and admits to the full scope of what happened. And here's the catch. Telling the truth about your role also means telling the truth about other people's roles. That's where it gets tricky. This is the gray area where people end up cooperating without officially cooperating. Because when you lay out the full story as part of your plea, you're still giving a statement. And that statement could impact others. Now, the man says that if Vonnie refuses to name others involved, they'll revoke the plea. And yes, that's true. That can happen. But let's be real, that doesn't necessarily mean he's planning to snitch. Vonnie could, theoretically, give fake names, vague stories, or minimize others' involvement. I'm not saying that would work, but it's an option. The key takeaway here is this: just being willing to take a plea doesn't automatically make someone a snitch. That's a false assumption a lot of people run with. And here's another clue. If Vonnie were planning to cooperate, this man wouldn't be stressing so hard, saying things like, I told him, if you do this, you have to cooperate. That language tells me there's no evidence that Vonnie ever brought up cooperating, at least not to the person speaking. What we're hearing sounds like interpretation, people connecting the dots from Vonnie allegedly saying he was considering a plea, not actually flipping. And let me remind y'all, I've already heard from someone close to the circle who claims those viral text messages are completely fake. Now stay with me, because as we go deeper into this audio, I'm going to show you exactly why I believe those messages were fabricated and how this man's own words might just back that up. Let's keep listening.
Abu means father. Like if you say Salam's Umi, that means mother. So that's how they know who it was sent to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's putting a whole nother thing. They already dirt them all. Like like you see in the text message that I sent him, because my son don't give a fuck about me. What better time to do something to me not than when everybody locked up? Where he could act like to his grandmama, I ain't had nothing to do with him. I'm locked up fighting for my life right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a better time for him to send the people to come on knock me off, because I know really for real, the Durk them did this, but I know for real. So I'm the only one that's out here that really know for real. So how you want his whole career is ended? If the world find anybody that talk to me, they don't know I'm telling the truth. Anybody I talk to, they get goosebumps.
Like I've said before, and I'll say it again, when you're dealing with allegations of snitching in a high-stakes case where someone's life is literally on the line, credibility is everything. Who says it matters just as much as what's being said? Now, this man claiming to be Vonnie's father? He might sound convincing on the surface, but then he turns around and admits that Vonnie doesn't care about him, that Vonnie's basically cut him off. And to me, that changes everything. Because if that's true, then this isn't just a concerned father speaking out. This might be someone with a motive, someone who feels discarded, betrayed, and now wants the world to know he has inside knowledge about this case. It sounds like he's using this conversation to establish himself as someone who holds key information. Like he's setting up his moment to say, I know things that can change everything. Let's be real. If those text messages are real, and that's still an open question, it seems more likely that this man is twisting the context, that he's using the messages as a springboard to shift the spotlight onto himself. Because ask yourself, if Vonnie really was planning to cooperate and trusted this man enough to share that dangerous information, would he do that with someone he might want to get rid of? Come on. That kind of trust doesn't line up with someone plotting to have you silenced. You don't confide in someone and then put them in danger. That logic just doesn't hold. What it sounds like is this: if those messages did happen, they were between two people who had some level of trust. But now, that trust is broken, and this man feels tossed aside, and so now, he's ready to blow the whistle. Whether the information is legit or not, it's a classic setup. Revenge dressed up as revelation. And that's why we've got to question everything about this narrative, because it may not be about justice or truth. It may just be about being heard. Let's keep going.
You see in the text message, it's there that it's put there. Nigga, you can come home tomorrow if you give him Vaughn, and you got me and Fats to testify in your testify in your behalf. See, but what you don't know is when he said, K. Grant, Salam's Abu means father. That's the Arabic word for father. So they know that that's who it was sent to his daddy.
Like I said before, this whole situation is starting to sound like this man is ready to testify himself. Did you catch what he said? If you tell them about Vaughn, I'll come in and testify on your behalf. And he even name drops other people who would supposedly do the same. Now let's break that down, because what he's suggesting is serious. He's implying that if Vonnie cooperates, he and others are willing to go into court, possibly even tie King Von to other cases, maybe even unsolved murder cases, just to help Vonnie secure a deal. And get this, he openly admits he's dealt with the feds before, yet here he is, still saying he's willing to step in and testify for Vonnie. So ask yourself, does that sound like a concerned father trying to clear his son's name? Or does it sound like someone trying to steer the narrative, pushing Vonnie toward cooperation and making it look like he's already done it? It almost feels like a setup, like he's trying to back Vonnie into a corner. Because think about it, if he can take these alleged messages, twist them into a he's cooperating story, and blast it across the internet, the public will turn on Vonnie. His name gets trashed, his support system weakens, and then cooperation becomes the only option left on the table. And in my honest opinion, this doesn't feel like some fatherly plea. This feels like a money grab. Swipe. I don't know your relationship with this guy. I don't know how deep y'all go. But from the outside looking in, it looks like he's playing you. You're mentioning interviews with academics and other big platforms. And this dude, he sees dollar signs. He probably does know a few things. But what it looks like to me is that he's trying to manufacture a hot topic, blow it up into a scandal, and then monetize the fallout. We've seen this playbook before. Bloggers do it all the time. When things quiet down, they crank out the most outrageous headline they can think of. The internet bites, the clicks roll in, then the backlash hits. Someone comes out to clear it up, and boom, now there's a new cycle to run. It's rage bait, it's clickbait, and in the blogging game, especially when you're not talking about your own life, the fastest way to stay relevant is to use somebody else's name. Let's call it what it is.
They could be talking to people who are a part of their circle. You understand what I'm saying? That are a part of their thing. I'm telling you what Drew said. Drew's up on everything as well, because I told you, Drew, the next day I got there, Track walk in the house on the crutches. He goes to the family room, me and Tasha take Drew upstairs. I bodied him. You'd have thought I was Johnny Crockett. I bodied him in the room. We go back downstairs, Track snapping on Drew. Like, fuck, you have a meeting without me, and then I brought you here. No, Unc. I said, damn, well, he can't have a meeting without me. I said, Tasha, Track down here checking the shit out of Drew. So I go back upstairs with Tasha. By the time I come down, I'm on the ass end of the conversation. Track is laying on the couch, and Drew standing above him. He says it's going to come out in the autopsy reports. You know what I'm saying? So they already setting the president what we going to do to help to make sure Lil Tim beat this case. You understand what I'm saying? Because once we find drugs in the system, he off drugs. He got to beat the case. You know what I'm saying? He dealing with a drug-induced killer from Chicago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he got to beat the case. Ain't nobody finna take payment to kill somebody and they finna have to go to jail. So they had to make sure that what's her name, Lil Tim was gonna beat the case. Who finna tell? I don't know how much money they gave him, but I went with him to go get a bag to Lil Tim. This is a fact. We paid Lil Tim in April. We didn't kill him till November. Who does that? I don't know, because Lil Tim could have got killed in between that. How much money they gave him, I don't know. But this 1,000% for sure. Lil Tim never respond on other things because he know everything I'm saying is the truth. It's 1,000% for sure. 1,000% for sure. So this is what it is. It's snaked out. It's snaked out. But yeah, man, I need some bread.
Now I know, at first, this part of the conversation might sound irrelevant. It feels like he's rambling, bringing up random stuff about 100K Track and Drew arguing. Honestly, it even starts to sound made up. But trust me, there's a reason I'm playing you these clips. There's a bigger picture here, and every piece helps connect the dots. So let me run this next one for you. Hold on.
Who was fake, you know what I mean? Motherfucker, when Ron first got out of jail, he was fucked up. Motherfuckers lying, saying they gonna help with a few pounds. Motherfuckers never did it.
So he never signed to OTF.
Never, no, sir. No, sir. Listen, this how the dude got into the thing. Listen, when Von beat up the Uber driver, after the Atlanta varsity shooting, he beat up an Uber driver. Kayla even told on that shit. Von beat up the Uber driver. Okay, whatever the case may be. Von needed $19,000 restitution to pay for the dude's injuries in order to get out of jail. They talking about they got to go back to the label when Durk wiped his ass with $19,000. You couldn't get the money from Durk. So that's how Track getting the play. That's how he ended up signing to Track, the 100K management. That's where he come in the picture, because Track put up the money without no paper.
Now here's why this part of the clip actually matters, even if it doesn't seem important at first. What it reveals is that the relationship between King Von and 100K Track was strictly business. According to the speaker, Von was in a situation, and Track saw it as a smart investment. So he put the money up. Simple as that. If that's true, it paints a very different picture. It shows that Von had multiple business relationships, not just ties to OTF, not just loyalty to one camp. And that detail right there, it helps weaken a major narrative floating around. You've heard it before. The theory that Durk had a motive to kill because Von was his artist, and Von's death meant a financial loss, or that Von was a top-tier OTF member, so close to Durk that violence was inevitable. But what this really shows is that they were businessmen. Two guys making moves, sometimes in the same circle, sometimes not. One of them tragically lost his life, but that alone doesn't create a motive for murder. And then, there's this next part.
It took toll of me, man. This shit has destroyed me, man. I'm a dude that get money and do all this, but this shit has destroyed me because I can't do nothing. Couldn't do nothing. Like I said, at the end of the day, my son did this for Durk. This 1,000% for sure, and he did it for greed as well. But
What would be the greed?
the money, he already got the millions. All you gotta do is set the play up. You ain't gotta wait till he did to get the money. You already got the money. You ain't got to kill him and then get the money. You already got the money, and then this ain't the person you grew up with from yay high. This is the person that your daddy just dropped off on you. Y'all don't have no time.
And that brings me to the core of this video. If what we're hearing is true, if the man speaking really is Vonnie's father, then he's done more than just run his mouth. He's just laid out a narrative that could reshape this entire case. According to his account, through personal conversations with Vonnie and other family members, he claims that Durk was surrounded by people who were only around for his money. And that backdrop, it's critical. Because it creates the perfect scenario for Vonnie to have used Durk's cards without his permission, without his knowledge. This is important because the opposing narrative floating around is that Durk backdoored King Von or set him up in some elaborate plot to eliminate him. That somehow Von's death was a business decision. But let's look at the facts. If they were really planning to slide for Von, if they were ready to put in work in retaliation, then why would Durk want him gone in the first place? It doesn't add up. What this man is suggesting, whether intentionally or not, is that there were multiple people in Durk's circle who were plotting on him, using him for access and money. You had 100K Track, allegedly trying to poach Von as an artist by bailing him out and saying, "Forget paying me back, just sign with me." That's not loyalty. That's business moves. Then you've got Vonnie, who, according to the allegations, had already stolen from Von, someone with his own motives, and now potentially access to Durk's financials. If Vonnie did have Durk's cards, and if he's the one who made those moves behind Durk's back, then that paints an entirely different picture. Now think about it. If this narrative holds, then Vonnie didn't need to eliminate Durk. He already had access to the funds. All he had to do was keep spending, uninterrupted. Von was gone. The distraction was out of the way. And Durk? He's painted as the mastermind, while Vonnie keeps moving in silence. That's the angle. What this person, claiming to be Vonnie's father, has actually done is give Durk's legal team a blueprint for defense. If Vonnie had a known history of moving shady, stealing money, plotting on the people around him, then that can be used to show that Durk didn't know anything about what was going on. That's a defense. Now sure, some people will say, that's snitching, throwing Vonnie under the bus. But let's be real. If Vonnie's planning to cooperate and point the finger at Durk, what choice does Durk have but to protect himself? If Vonnie's the one with access to the cards, and he's trying to flip the narrative to get a lighter sentence, Durk's legal team can argue, he's framing my client to save himself. And guess what? If it's true that Vonnie had already stolen large amounts from Von, and now from Durk, then it's not hard to believe that this is just a continuation of that pattern. And maybe, just maybe, the man speaking, the so-called father, is bitter. Maybe Vonnie cut him off financially. Maybe that's why he's suddenly spilling every secret he knows. Either way, this audio will likely be used in court. Why? Because it destroys the government's key narrative that Durk is the boss, that no one in the organization moves without his green light. This man just said the opposite. Durk doesn't run anything. He's being manipulated by people around him, particularly Vonnie. Again, credibility matters. Who's saying this is just as important as what's being said. Now I don't know if this guy is just finessing Trench's news for attention. I don't know if Trench's news is being used for clicks. But one thing I do know, this clip is now evidence. Exculpatory evidence. And if Durk's lawyer is smart, they'll use it, even if just as leverage with the prosecution. It doesn't incriminate Durk. It does the opposite. It shows that if someone was manipulating the situation, it was Vonnie. Because think about it. If Durk wanted Von gone, why retaliate when he gets killed? That makes no sense. That destroys the entire motive for any supposed Quando Rondo hit. And now that this narrative is floating, that Vonnie was stealing, plotting, mad about $19,000 not being given to Von, suddenly there's a new motive: self-interest, greed. Vonnie may have simply manipulated his way into Durk's inner circle, gained access to his cards, and acted on his own. That's the theory. Allegedly, we don't know for sure. But if true, this gives Durk's legal team something solid. And let's not forget, if Vonnie was really moving like this, there will be a paper trail. That's why, if Durk's team is smart, they'll subpoena the bank records, pull the transactions, follow the money. If there's a pattern of unauthorized spending, if funds were drained after Vine's death or during Durk's absence, that tells the real story. And suddenly, the narrative changes from conspiracy and murder to betrayal and theft. So listen, this might look like internet drama, but this audio clip is deeper than content. It's leverage, it's strategy. And whether it's used in court or behind closed doors, trust me, Durk's legal team is paying attention. That's it for today's breakdown. If you got value out of this video, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. You already know the deal. It helps the channel grow, helps these videos get into circulation. Share it too. Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, wherever, hit that share button. Copy the link, send it to someone who needs to see this. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Let's keep our eyes on how this all unfolds.